Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. And today's guest is Ronda Coallier, a personal friend of mine, very honored to say that, who is the CEO of Her Life. And believe me, when you listen to this lady, you will understand why. She went from being a waitress where she was physically sick and broke and down on her luck to being the multimillionaire that she is today, living the life of her dreams and helping others live the life of their dreams. Welcome, Rhonda. So glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I know you are because you're a happy person. I've personally been loving having you in my life. So tell us, I don't even know where you want to begin. Do you want to begin like from there to now, or do you want to begin with who you are now and what it's like to be in Rhonda's world?
Well, I'll start with my background, which last night I was thinking about being on your show today, and I was really kind of going way, way back. Let's go to my early, years, like, two. Okay. And then what was going on for me, Angel, I didn't really realize until much, much later in life how really challenging and painful my childhood was. And just like most of us, right? We only know what we know in our what we experience in our childhood, we think is all there is, right? That we think it's normal. We think there's no other way. And I had an amazing mom, and she loved me with all of her heart. She was 21 years old. She was single and trying to take care of me, had no help. And I went through a childhood where I was alone a lot. My mom was working and playing, quite frankly. We moved like 12 times. Can you believe this? Between the time I started kindergarten to the time I started high school, we moved 12 times. My mom dated a married man from the I was the age of, 2 when she divorced my father, and she needed to get away from him. Okay. But she ended up falling in love with a married man and was in a relationship with him for 10 years. So now this is my imprinting. This is my programming, right? And I mean, I was left with inappropriate caregivers. I was molested. I was left with alcoholics. I went through a really, really hard childhood.
Yeah, I'd say so.
When I landed in my 20s, out in, traveling in the world and doing my life in my 20s, I began to realize through my relationships that I was really not, I didn't have what it took to be in a relationship. I had no intimacy abilities. I mean, I didn't just even know how to function, right? And it was in my early 20s that I started on this personal healing journey because I was in so much pain. And that pain showed up in my relationships where it usually shows up, right?
Right.
And so there I was, and I spent my 20s blaming my mother.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone can relate. I'm sure many of us can. It was all her fault. Every bad relationship I was in was because she dated a married man, and I was programmed that men can't be trusted. So what did I bring into my life? Men that couldn't be trusted.
Right.
And so I just was in this really deep, difficult, hard time in my 20s. This is when I was a waitress, and I was just trying to figure it all out, of course, as most of us are in our 20s. And I started doing therapy. I started doing personal development. I started doing healing work. I started this whole incredible journey.
Wait, I got to stop
figure.
One
Yeah.
second.
Okay. Go ahead. I was going to say, yeah.
Because that moment, that's a hard moment on anybody. You were young. How did you know to even seek help? Because first of all, if you've got a blaming mechanism, then why should you take any responsibility? How can you change anything? You're the victim of your upbringing. So you got to tell me and the listeners, what was that thing that bridged the gap between it's not my fault to I can do something about this?
I'm an innate seeker of information. I probably, because of all the pain I went through in my life, I was always seeking ways to feel better, which a lot of them, by the way, were very unhealthy.
Yes.
For a very long time, right? Because I mean, at 12 years old, I was doing drugs, alcohol, I was having sex at 13. I mean, I was just so messed up. And you would never know it. You'd meet me and think, okay, here's this really cool chick. but I was always a seeker. And you know who, somehow I came, personal development really, I think, kind of became really big, right? In the late 80s, right? Early 90s, self-help, right? The self-help era.
Yep.
And so I found Wayne Dyer. And
Okay.
he started empowering me. And that was how the journey began. I remember I used to walk around with my Walkman and my earbuds, and I would listen to Wayne Dyer over and over and over, change the way you look at things. If you can change the things in your life will change. And I started to realize through this personal development, self-help, that I could change my life if I took responsibility. And I want to talk about forgiveness with the listeners today, because it was one of the biggest issues of my life was forgiving my mom.
Yeah, that's huge.
Was forgiving my mom and stop blaming my mom, right? And taking responsibility for myself. And I really had a hard time. And I was in therapy on and off for years, doing all the work, reading all the books, going all the seminars, just reprogramming my subconscious, doing everything I could. And I remember in my therapy, Angel, I was like, I want to forgive my mom. Like I was over it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It just wasn't happening. And I remember my therapist saying to me, it has its own time. You don't just decide that it's over and it's over. It's like, it's a process and it's going to happen when it happens. And I was like,
No,
because I love my
not
mom.
your timing, but the big timing, right? It's never what we
Yes,
want. Yeah,
never,
that's rough.
never. So I discovered that through reading and learning about self-empowerment, self-love, learning to take responsibility for everything that was happening in my life. Whew, and stop blaming other people, stop trying to control other people, which was my favorite job in my 20s, right? Trying to change everyone else. And so I'll never forget, I really wanted to forgive my mom. And I'm talking, this is 10 years of therapy, on and off, And I remember I met this gentleman, him, Richard, right? The love of my life before the real love of my life, right?
Right.
I'm with now. And I met Richard, and Richard was the most romantic man I'd ever known in my life. I mean, he was just the smoothest man. I fell madly in love with him. He was in a relationship with someone for 20 years. And I never dated anyone that was married or in a relationship. That was a no-go for me.
Even though you were brought up in that.
Even because, yeah, right. You either go one way or the other. You either do it or you're like, I'll never do
Never do
that,
it. Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
was in that camp
Right.
until I met Richard. But here's what the universe did. Richard, I fell in love with him. He left the girl. He then cheated on me, just like he cheated on her, broke my heart. And I ended up on the floor in ecstatic dance, doing the emotional work that you teach, right? The issues are in my tissues. I'm ecstatic dance, I love dancing it out. And I'll never forget the moment that I hit the ground and I said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I finally forgave my mom.
Oh,
And the way I was able to forgive my mom is I got to live in her shoes. I
yep.
got to fall in love with a man that
Yeah.
was not available, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything about it. And I reflected back on my mom and I thought, this happened to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say, if you want to, you're either going to forgive it or you're going to live it.
Right.
What are you holding on to in your heart that has hurt you so deeply? Do you want to forgive it or do you want to live it? And I had to live it in order to forgive it. And that was fine because I wanted to forgive it. I wanted to forgive. And I remember I jumped on a plane. I came home. I saw my mom and I told her the whole story. I blamed you my whole life for my failures, my difficulties in my relationships. And now I had an experience like yours and I totally get it.
I understand.
Mom,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was in that moment that I forgave. And I think someone, if I was molested by my uncle, I was molested by a neighbor, and I was able to forgive them a lot easier through my healing work than I was my mom. And it
Yeah.
can be such a deep wound, right? With our close family.
Right.
So forgiveness was one of the biggest parts of me turning my life around.
Wow. Okay. So what I've got now is the turning point for anybody to take responsibility for their life. Whatever's happening, you got to put your responsibility hat on and say, what part did I play in this? So that's fantastic. Second,
Yes.
I hear, which I love, because I've asked the same thing, like what forgiveness means to me. And, I've been through my own trials and tribulations. And the only way I was able to forgive an abuser in my life was to find compassion for them. So you, through having a similar experience, going, hey, she's not odd. I'm actually experiencing what she experienced. Now I can have compassion for her because now I understand. So that's a beautiful journey. Well, so where you are now, get us to where you are now, and then what's your passion now as an empowered, incredible human being?
I think my passion now is to really connect with anyone who is really, really deeply desiring to heal and live their greatest life, right? After I forgave my mom, my next greatest gift in my life, again, a major trial and tribulation, a major difficulty showed up. And I was 35 years old and I was diagnosed with an incurable disease and they wanted to give me a full hysterectomy. I was basically one stage away from cervical cancer. So I had cervical dysplasia. So I had abnormal cells on my cervix for many years. You know, the pap smear, you go in and they're checking and they would burn it, cut it, freeze it. They never told me that it could turn into cancer. And then one day they said, okay, it's too far gone. You know, you're a step away from having cervical cancer. We have to take it all out. And man, that was such an awakening moment in my life. And that is when I went on the journey of, wait a minute, you know, you can't heal my body, but I can. And I remember asking the doctor, I said, hey, you know, can I have some time here? Do I have some time to work on healing my body? And he was like, yeah, it's not going to work, but yeah. And so that journey of, you know, I read Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Oh, yeah.
And man, she's into all the inner work, right? Forgiveness, affirmations, visualization. And then I also did a naturopathic protocol for healing my body. And through that process, Angel, I just actually discovered my deepest calling in life, which is health and wellness and helping people really be empowered in their health.
Yes.
And knowing that whatever is showing up in our tissues,
Yeah.
right? In your book, you talk about it so eloquently and you help people work through it so beautifully, just like Louise Hay did. And it was like, I had to work through all of that, you know, all the being molested, all of the time, you know, anything that was in there had to be let go, healed, and forgiven.
Right.
And through that process, I remember thinking, oh, and I healed my body in 6 months. I got a different doctor because that doctor didn't believe I could. So I got a doctor that believed I could in LA. I think you might know her. And then she worked with me. And in 6 months, I had clean pap smear. I've had a clean pap smear every day. I mean, every time for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And, you know, here was this one doctor telling me I was going to have to lose my body parts. And then here I am healing my body. And I just woke up and I said, you know what? If I could heal my body, I for sure could heal my bank account. That's what was my next thought. I was like, because I was $40,000 in debt. I was broke. I hadn't found my purpose, my passion. I hadn't found my voice. I hadn't found my meaning, you know, in life yet. And that illness gave it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
we
it
were
was,
saying, the cross you bear is the gift you
yes,
share.
it is. It is. And I want to be a message for anyone who's going through anything to realize, to begin to at least contemplate, what is the gift here? What is the meaning here? What is the opportunity here? Right? Because how we look at things, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes.
And I believe through, you know, all these years, I'm 57 now, and, you know, it's a journey. It's a process of getting here, ladies and gentlemen, you know, but doing the inner work and taking responsibility for my thoughts, you know, any scenario, you name the scenario, I don't care what it is. We can see it as an opportunity or we can see it as a disaster. We have the choice.
Right. Yes.
And the magic that happens when we see it as an opportunity and we open into it and say, okay, this is here. What am I going to learn? What am I going to do? How am I going to transmute this? What am I going to do with this? What is the meaning behind this? And being just open to it changes everything. And so that's been my journey. And I was introduced to health and wellness and I partnered with a health and wellness company 23 years ago.
Wow.
And I've been able to really not only help people change their nutrition, but change their inner beliefs so that they can have a very vibrant and thriving life.
And you have to, because I will say that the company's name is Isogenics and it's fantastic products. The competition out there, whether we want to admit it or not, in that health and wellness world is humongous. So the way you've been able to help your bank account, yourself, and those around you, your team, is you must be coaching holistically, because to just take that wellness model. It's not always successful, but you've been able to, whatever the Rhonda factor is, you're going to tell us what it is. You've made your team and you very successful. And I know you've got passion for it because I see it and I've seen it ever since I've known you. So tell us about that. Tell us about what the holistic coaching you've done. You can talk about, the business and what kind of business it is, which
Mm-hmm.
again is not an easy business to make it. When you do, though, it's fantastic. But
Mm-hmm.
you've got to have that holistic coaching that you do that people have to understand to make it really successful. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, it's true. Mindset is everything, right? Number one, that's the first thing I address with my team. And that's the first thing I work on with anyone who's coming on board that wants to. For example, my goal was I had to pay $40,000 worth of credit card debt and I had zero saved for retirement and I was 35 years old. So I was way late in getting in the game of saving. So I had to make up for lost time. And when I was introduced to this company and the products that they have, they very effectively metabolically change people. So it's like a metabolic reset. So we help with everything, from losing fat to gaining lean muscle to improving your cholesterol, your blood pressure, all of it, all the metabolic factors. And 93% of Americans are metabolically challenged. So there's a huge market out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's highly competitive and noisy. And, especially now after all these years of social media. And so for me, it really is about relationships. It's about intimacy. It's about sharing my journey, being very vulnerable and helping other people who are in messy places, because we tend to attract, it's network marketing and it's, people who want to work for themselves, but not by themselves. But a lot of people come in and they're usually in a kind of a predicament, they're like, okay, this has happened, and I'm now open to something new, right? Because it's very new to people. And I love coaching and working with people who are passionate about themselves and their growth. I say it's personal growth with a compensation plan attached to it. That's what network marketing is, or sales could be, if you want to just go there in general.
Uh-huh.
And I love working with my team. So it's all about events. It's all about being together. It's all about growing together. It's all about seeing each other, hearing each other, loving each other, encouraging each other. Many people went way faster to me than I did in success in this company. A lot of my friends that were, in this company in the beginning made millions of dollars way faster than me, but I like that it took me a long time, Angel, because now I can help other people because not most people do not go fast. Okay. It's a process of learning new skills, learning new habits, and just doing a day to day, because this business is for people who are working full time in other things, but they can do this on the side. Right. So it's learning that day to day, just basic, simple steps that you're going to take every day repeatedly. And I love it. I love this business because of the community and the teamwork that we do it together.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing this for 23 years and I don't have to work another day in my life, but I love it. I couldn't imagine not doing it. I couldn't imagine not helping someone get their health back. I couldn't imagine not helping someone understand the innate power they have within themselves to change everything in their life. And so I would never stop.
I get it. And I know that one of the key words you said was community. And I know that as we go forward in 2025, collaboration and community is where everybody's going to grow. There is no lone wolf that's going to make it anymore out there. I don't believe. Tell us what a day in the life of Rhonda is. I know you work hard, but I know you play hard. You have such a lovely balance. So share a day in the life of Rhonda.
Well, the whole reason I built this business, besides it was my deepest calling to assist others in these areas of health and mindset and wealth and prosperity and healing and growing. And besides all of that, I wanted to be in nature. I just couldn't stand being in an office every day. And so the life of Rhonda is anything I want all day, every day. I get to decide. I don't have a boss, but how I usually roll is I'll get up in the morning and I'll spend some time just quickly, just kind of putting things together on my social media platform while I'm having some coffee. And then I'm out in nature. It could be kayaking, it's paddle boarding, walking, pickleball, tennis. hiking, anything I can do where I'm out in nature and I spend some time moving and I spend time being outside. I love to travel, as you know. And so I do a lot of traveling. And my therapist is like, okay, can you just sit still for 5 minutes? I'm like, no, I want to see the whole world,
Nope,
you know?
not enough time to sit
But
still.
yeah, no, but I weave my business into my day and I, um, I'm putting together like what I'm starting to do now, which I'm really excited about, is going to be retreats, like Costa Rica retreats and Hawaii retreats, and where we can really come together, community,
Yeah.
and dive in and really do the work together and really inspire and uplift each other to our greatness. And I went to Costa Rica and I had a really life changing experience there. We could talk about if you want
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Bring it on.
Okay, well, you know, a friend of mine called and asked me to go down there and do an ayahuasca, a sacred medicine journey with her. And I love this woman, and her vibration is so powerful and so beautiful. And I was like, yes. And I had already experienced that once in Southern California, but I went to Costa Rica and I did this journey, and it was a very, very beautiful, very, very beautiful journey. And I awoke from that experience and I had a very, very clear message for the world and for myself. And it was so clear to me that I remember laying there when I was in the journey, okay? And I wanted some water so bad. Okay. And I'm laying there and I literally have a bottle of water right next to me. Right. And I can't get my arm to pick up and get the water and get it to my mouth. So my mouth starts to produce water. You know how you start,
Salivating.
I think of a lemon, right? So I start salivating and I'm laying there and I go, oh my gosh, it's handled. Like I don't make myself breathe.
Yeah.
Hello?
Right.
I don't pump my heart, right? And I didn't even have to get a glass of water. I mean, it was just provided, right? In the moment, some moisture was given. And I just had this epiphany that I can relax, that we can relax and know that it is handled. Anything, whatever that thing is, and there's a faith and a trust in knowing I don't have to wake up and make my body work. And I don't have to wake up and yes, I do things, but
Hmm.
I trust and I allow what is happening to happen.
Right. Yes,
So, like I had a hurricane. It wiped out my house.
that's right. Tell us about that. That's
Yeah,
you.
right. Okay. So here we are, right? At first I cried because I was like, "Oh, my stuff," and but very quickly I'm in the energy of, okay, it's handled. Literally, it's handled. Now my house is everything I own is thrown out on the front lawn.
Yeah, you
My
need to
house is
give us
gutted.
give us a degree of this because Rhonda, you lost
Yeah,
everything and then it happened
everything.
again.
Yeah, 3 feet of water was in my house. Every possession I own had to be thrown out on the front yard. All my walls were cut out. We had to start drying and getting all the moisture out. And then I got a new air conditioner unit and a new hot water tank and a new washer and a new fridge for the garage. Real fast. I did that real fast. And then another hurricane was coming. I couldn't believe it. Right. But in my knowing that it's handled, yes, I had some stress around the second hurricane coming. And yes, I had some fear around my mom and my family. And that's just normal human emotion, right? But to transmute that and to know that everything is handled and whatever happens is going to happen. There's nothing I can do. I can't change it. So worrying about it, stressing about it is not going to make it any better. And I went up to Tennessee and I ended up being to stay at your beautiful lake house. And I was at my sister's house and I ran away from the second hurricane and I came back and nothing happened from the second hurricane. But the first hurricane had wiped me out. And I have to tell you, I just want to give you guys an example of worrying and stressing and forcing and being in non agreement with what is exhausting, right?
Right.
It
Yes.
depletes our energy force. And when I am not when I shift, because I can be there, but I can shift also.
Mm-hmm.
And when I upshift, I shift out of that lower frequency, fear, worry, resistance. When I shift out of that and I come up into my heart and into my higher self, hello. When I upshift, all the things that I need are going to show up. All the energy is given back to me. And that's what I did during my hurricane situation. I'll never forget sitting outside on my lawn with my stepdad 2 days after the first hurricane. Everything I own's out on the front grass. The lady calls me, the insurance adjuster calls me, and she says, "Can I come by? It's Sunday night. It's 6 o'clock. I'm exhausted. I've worked 3 days from 5 in the morning till 10 at night." I said, "Yes, please come by. I'm in this frequency of it's handled."
Yeah.
And she comes by and she does an amazing job. And I was able to get everything done. My insurance, there was no struggle. There was no challenge. There was no difficulty because I was open to allow whatever needed to happen to happen. And I know a lot of people that are in the same situation that I just went through. They still don't even have anything done
Right.
because of they were just so right, just so and opening up, upshifting and uplifting and knowing that it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. It's all going to work. It is all working out for my highest and best good. So
Yeah.
I'm a very determined person, but I'm also willing to, so I'll focus on what I want. So I want X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to live in that frequency, right? I'm going to be that person. I'm going to speak about that. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to work on creating that. I'm going to, put all my energy into that. But if that thing doesn't happen, then I know whatever happens is meant to be. So it really is a holistic way of living my life where I can surrender and receive.
Yeah, you're actually giving me a great reminder because I'm in a very stressful, I've taken on too much. And
Yeah, we do that.
I can do everything all in a day. But I've taken on too much. And I was getting so ground into that pushing through, and it's a masculine energy, a pounding, I can do it, push, 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 taking no time for myself and getting really aggravated,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
well, which is a cycle, because if I'm aggravated, I stress everybody else around me. They can't help me. I'm not receiving. Okay. And so it becomes a really bad cycle that grinds you down into the consumption. It consumed me. You said you didn't let it consume you. I'm like, that's what you have a choice. You can either get consumed by it, or step out of it. And I'm listening very closely because I want people to be able to replicate this. It's taking responsibility. You're big on that. Taking responsibility, but you're also taking responsibility of not getting dragged down. And that's a really tough place to grab your own self up by the bootstraps and say, I'm not going to sit on the corner and cry in my soup. This hurts. This sucks. But there's something I can do. Am I right? Am I saying this right? Because I want to make
Right. Well, we can't change, the whole saying, we can't change what happens to us. We can only change our reaction to
to
it.
it. Yes.
And our
Our
first
outcome.
reaction is going to probably not be the most empowering reaction. And it's okay.
But you have to express it, right?
You have to express it, right? I cried. I was scared. I was mad. Okay, great. Now I'm going to surrender. And now I'm going to go to the thinking, everything is working out in my highest and best good. Everything is working out in my highest and best good. And that allows me to live in such a powerful place. I don't have to try and control everything.
And open up the possibility that something you don't even know greater can happen in that moment. Because we
And it
don't
did.
know.
Yes.
We don't know.
Right. No, we don't know. We
Okay.
don't know. Yeah.
You're super inspiring. So I could boil down the Rhonda factor. The Rhonda factor is to take responsibility in everything. Take what's your responsibility in everything. Your emotions, what's happening, how you put yourself out. But basically you have to take responsibility for what is going on inside at all times, because it affects all of us around anyway. And that's the theme of my second book, which I've already begun. So that Rhonda factor. I really kind of like that. I think you should take,
Okay.
I like the RF, to raise to the F, the Rhonda factor. Really, I like it because you are.
I like that.
And
I
I know
do.
that
I
you're so
do.
for real. And I appreciate so much that you are living exactly what you preach. I know you don't preach, you just live it. And you're so bubbly and happy. And I've seen you when you've gone through the rough times. But how you pull yourself out and get into a better place is so inspiring, Rhonda. Just thank you so much for living your life, going through the muck, digging yourself out. You do it for all of us. When you do it for us, and you make it a little bit lighter and a little bit less of a rocky road for us when you live your truth. So thank you. You're a fabulous role model. I really want to appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. I didn't get here overnight. I didn't get to this ability to take 100% responsibility for, myself, my stuff, everything in my life. It took time. And one of the things I did is I read a lot of books. I listened to a lot of tapes and audios and videos. I went to a lot of seminars. I really, really did the work. And the most important work I think that I did was reprogramming my subconscious mind because, we're programmed, right? From 0 to 7 or 0 to 9. We're running around in this state where everything we take in is a program. And even now as adults, that's why they call them television programs, right? That we are being programmed. Okay. But as a child, you are in the state of being totally programmed, and those become our beliefs. And those are the filters we see everything through. So if you don't see everything through a filter of, for example, everything's working out for my highest and best good. I didn't used to have that filter. I had to create that filter.
Right. It's not something you go buy on a shelf, is it?
Nope. You got to do the work. And here's the best part. Most of the work I did was listening to audios, reprogramming my subconscious mind as I was falling asleep. And I did that for most of my life. I would say at least 30 years on and off. From 20 to 50. And, I would listen to Louise Hay. I would listen to Hypnotherapy for a Millionaire Mind. That was a really great one that I listened to constantly because as we're falling asleep, you guys, that's when we can get into our programming. And that's when we can really change our subconscious thoughts. And repetition is the mother of all learning. So, why do you know the words to the song, because you heard it 1,000 times, and it's the same thing for reprogramming. If you want to be the type of person that's able to live in this really dynamic way, you can be by changing your subconscious mind. And it's not that difficult.
Right.
It just takes repetition.
So to seek out those things that you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, I don't listen to news. I mean, my mom got in the car the other day and she was like, "Did you hear about this awful thing?" I won't even tell you what it was. I'm like, "No, Mom, I did not hear about it. I didn't hear about this awful thing because I don't listen to awful things. That's not on my radar."
Right. Especially if it's not something you can actually make a difference in. Right.
Right.
So
I need to, I will.
I know you will.
Yeah.
Sure.
If I need to listen to something, I will. And I will make a difference.
You will. You already have. So in closing, is there a wisdom nugget? If there's something, like I used to give people those wild hearts, just to remember to connect to your heart. What can you leave us with today? A little wisdom nugget that we can take with us and remember the Rhonda factor.
I have a great mantra that I want to share with everyone. And this mantra came to me from a vet. I had my little dog at the vet, and my little dog was the love of my life. And anytime she wasn't well, I kind of went off the rails. It was she taught me so much about surrender, so much about being in that place, right, of allowing and believing that everything's happening for the highest and best good. And I met the vet, and this holistic vet, he said, "Okay, Bella's going to be fine." He said, "But I don't know about you." Right? And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You're not breathing." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Listen, I want to teach you something that he learned through a emergency room doctor." So emergency room doctors have to make life and death decisions in the second all day long, right? Do I help this guy? Do I help that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we get into trauma and difficulty, a hurricane, a breakup, we've lost our job, the rug's pulled up from underneath us, we're traumatized, right? With a big change. When we get there, our brain can go off track. And he taught me this, and I want to teach it to everyone because it changed my life. And I could just cry thinking of him taking the time to tell me this. He said, this is what you do when you're in the middle of trauma and you can't focus and you can't seem to get it together, which happened a lot with my dog because she had seizures and stuff. So I would be going there. So he said, "Okay," he said, "the first thing you say, and this is going to address the oldest part of our brain, and that is, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. 3 times. I am safe, I am safe, I am safe." That'll bring the oldest part of our brain back on track. The next thing you say for the middle part of the brain is, I am loved, I am loved, I am loved. And that brings that middle part of the brain back on track. And the third thing you say, and I love this one so much, and it'll calm the frontal cortex, is, I will get the information I need when I need it.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it.
Well, it made me relax. It's like,
Right?
quit pushing. You're going to get the information you
Yes.
need when you need it, but then you might not know when that is.
It's
There's
going to
the
come
surrender.
when it's needed.
Right.
We don't have to we don't have to control that. The information will be there when we need it. And that mantra has shifted me in any traumatic situation. And that could be something simple, right? So I love it, and it brings the brain on track, and it's a great, great process. I've been using it with my team, and they love it, and I find it to be very, very powerful.
Thank you.
And
Well,
try
I'm
it.
going to say it
Yeah.
right now so that I can remember. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm loved. I'm loved. And I'll get the information that I need when I need it, not before.
3 times.
Oh,
I will get the
I
information
need when I
when
need
I
it.
need it.
And I'll get the information that I need when I need it.
How do you feel?
Oh, I'd already, when you first said it, gave me goosebumps just now. When you first said it, I actually literally felt the front part of my brain kind of relax. It's like, yeah, you don't stop pushing. You're going to get it when you
Yep.
need it. And we know when
Yep.
you need it, and it'll be perfect timing. So just
Yep.
relax.
The universe is on purpose. We don't make our heart beat. Just relax. It's all handled.
The
And it will be
Rhonda
handled.
factor. Hey, how do we get in touch with you? How do we find you, Rhonda?
Okay. Well, RondaCoallier.com definitely is there. I'm on Facebook also underneath the same name, Rhonda, Ronda Coallier.
Spell your last name.
CoAlllier.com. On Instagram, I am the Queen of Freedom. And I'd love to connect with all of you amazing souls out there. As we heal ourselves, we heal the planet.
Yes, we do.
And it's such beautiful work to do. Thank you so much, Angel. You're doing the most amazing work, and I just want to do more stuff with you all the time.
Well, I do too. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
We'll end here. I love you. And
Thank you.
I'll see you all next time. You don't leave though. Bye. Thank you, Rhonda, for joining us today. Wow. The R factor, the Rhonda factor, taking responsibility for who you are and how you feel and how you are out into the world. She really, really shows us the power of that and how you could come from being a sick and down on your luck waitress into a multimillionaire. And she did the work. She did the inner work. She did the hard stuff and really wants to help those in her life go through the hard stuff, but to really live the life of their dreams. I really appreciate Rhonda in my life. I'm so glad she was able to join us. Thank you for listening. This is your host, Angel Howard, and I'd love to get to know you better. So send me an email at angel@angelhoward.co to book me for a speaking engagement. Go to my website and there's a page called Issues in Your Tissues. Book me for your next meeting or conference, or just take a deeper dive into your own journey of self-discovery and buy my book, Issues in Your Tissues, on Amazon. Till next time.